to help me share where I'm coming from, my background of morbid obesity, and that's a little photo album of pictures of me from before. So I'm going to pass that around as well, and you guys can take a look at those. There's quite a lot of pictures, and there's quite a lot of you, so maybe don't dwell on all of them, but you can take a look at these. Okay, so my intention for sharing with you guys tonight was to share some of my background, and then to also share some of my top tips for being healthy and happy as a raw foodist. Like genuinely rocking it and feeling good as a raw foodist. So that's what we're going to go into tonight, and you can ask questions at any point if you have them, or we can do questions at the end, whatever feels good to you. So, who here reads my blog?
I have you before.
You have before, very nice. So, for anyone who doesn't know about my blog, I write a blog pretty much every other day, and I put everything on there that I eat as a 100% raw foodist. So, if you are curious about that, then you can go and have a look, and I put all kinds of other things up there, like special offers and recipes and just loads of stuff about raw foods movement. So that's all on my blog, which is rawreform.blogspot.com. rawreform.blogspot.com. I'm originally from England, if anyone's wondering what my accent's all about. And I often have to say raw reform because people think I'm saying royal or something, but yeah, rawreform.com is my main site. So, who has seen my before and after pictures before? Alright! Who saw me on CNN? Anyone? YouTube, nice. That was pretty cool. CNN did a little item on my story last year, and it turned out to be the biggest health story of the year for 2008.
Wow.
So yeah, things like that really help us to see how much the raw food movement is expanding. You know, that I think more than 2 million people watched it on the first day.
That's so cool.
It's so exciting that they, you know, the mainstream media is like those guys coming here tonight. You know, it's so nice that they're edging their way into sharing more about this. And the reason I love to share about this is because when I look around me in our societies, I see so many people, especially here and in the UK, dealing with obesity, morbid obesity, even overweight issues, and people aren't usually looking for sustainable solutions. You know, they're looking for that scary bariatric surgery or the crazy pills and drugs and all that kind of stuff. And I am here, you know, I'm living testimony that we can lose the weight naturally, get healthy naturally, and stay naturally healthy and not regain the weight. You know, I released about 160 pounds in my first 2 years on this path, and it's stayed off ever since, whereas apparently 90% of people who lose weight in general regain it plus some. 90% of people, it's crazy. And apparently these days in the US, 1 in 3 people is not overweight or obese. 1 in 3 people is a normal weight. Think about that. That's crazy, the stuff that's going on here in terms of people eating themselves into the grave. And you know, that's what I used to do. So yeah, I would love to share a little bit of my background with you. I think most of you guys probably know in general where I'm coming from. I didn't grow up being obese. I was really, really active when I was a young child, and then when I was 11 my thyroid went underactive, and that was the beginning of my weight gain. And then I just got into emotional eating, basically, from there. And the weight just went on and on and on for a decade. From the age of 11, when my thyroid went underactive, until the age of 21, I gained weight constantly for that entire time. It was just like a balloon, expanding and expanding and expanding. And at some point, something had to give, you know, because I was really, really unwell. Apart from the thyroid condition, I always had an illness of some kind. You know, whether it was a rash or a chest infection or whatever it was, always ill. And I was always on medication, masses of it. Sometimes I was taking like 14 or 15 different pills a day, all the different things, because that's all I knew how to do. You know, that's the kind of system I grew up in, was suppression of symptoms, suppression of illnesses. And yeah, something had to give. And I had a diabetes scare at the age of 21, and that was like my trigger point. And I knew I couldn't go on like that anymore. It wasn't until 2 years later, when I was 23 years old, that somebody lent me this book, The Raw Family by the Botenkos. Has anyone read this one?
Yeah.
Cool. Has anyone seen the Botenkos speak?
Yeah.
No, so they've been here to Sacramento.
Many times, many
Excellent.
times.
Cool, so this book totally rocked my world. I started to read it, I read the whole thing in one night, and I went 100% raw the next day from being the kind of person who couldn't walk past McDonald's. You know, it could have been any raw food book maybe, but this one just really spoke to me. You know, it's their testimony of what happened to them, and it just seemed so real, and like there was nothing to question. That's what happened for me. You know, I read this, I had never done any kind of dieting, nothing like that. I had no interest in dieting, weight loss pills, nothing. I just wanted to eat all the time. Food was like my best friend, and I ate all day long. And mainly those foods that Matt was speaking about earlier that are the most damaging to the body. That's mainly what I was eating. You know, breads and pasta and pizza and cake and cookies and ice cream and, you know, you name it. Everything from the middle aisles in the supermarket. You know? My friend has this saying, the middle aisles will kill you. I think it's so true, you know, I look in there sometimes and it's like, oh my god, what are they doing these days, you know, like, they just take the same stuff, they mix it up in a different way, put it in a different pretty box, put it on the shelves, people buy it, people eat it, that's the craziest thing, you know, and that's what I used to live on, until I read this, and then, yeah, as I said, I went 100% raw the next day, and it was too much for me. I was 100% raw for 1 week in the beginning, and it was,
Let's get my hair up.
the detox for me was off the hook. I mean, coming from a 300-pound body into being 100% raw vegan is a pretty huge thing to do, as I'm sure many of you can identify with maybe. And I couldn't deal with it. So I took a step back to being about 70-80% raw, and that's what I did for the first couple of years. And that was enough for me. You know, I still released like 160 pounds in 2 years, eating that kind of way. In my first year of doing this, I released 105 pounds. I mean, there's probably people in this room that weigh that much, right? Yeah. I lost you off my body in 1 year. It's a pretty freaky thing to experience. If you've never lost more than half of your body weight, I can tell you, it's kind of bizarre. You know, it's like, where is it going? And socially, emotionally, everything was shifting. I was totally just felt like I was on quicksand. You know, everything was moving all the time. And it was amazing as well, obviously, and that's why I'm still here. Because every single time I looked in the mirror, it was like seeing something new or someone new. You know, it started with things like, I have a collarbone. Like, whoa! I haven't seen this thing for like 15 years or something. I have ribs. That was a huge revelation one night because I just felt like this huge lump of jelly, you know, jello. And the idea that I had a skeleton was just crazy to me. So, my life completely